this is the module. So you can try, once you are on this page, click try Claude. And if you haven't signed up, it would bring you to the page where you can sign up. You can use your Google to sign up. And once you sign up, it will bring you here. On this page, once you are on this page, you can ask it any question. For example, I'll ask it to write a simple Terraform code. Once I type my question, press enter, and it is going to write the Terraform code. One thing I like about Anthropic's Claude, and this is Claude 3. Just a second. One thing I like about Anthropic's Claude 3, and this is the Claude 3 Haiku, they have different version of the Claude, but the one that is free to use is the Claude 3. One thing I like about it is that it is very detailed. You can see what it wrote here. It tells you what the code does and how to use it. So I like it a lot. So this is what I've been using. And I favor this over ChatGPT. This module is also available in AWS as one of the AI modules you can use. And that is the module we are going to use in this project. So to start, the first thing we are going to do is, go ahead, Shamika.
So I used the Claude yesterday, not over the weekend when you was introducing it, and it told me after using it for a while, it said that I was out of I had to wait till 6 p.m. to use it again. Like I have only a certain amount of limit of requests.
Mm-hmm.
Did you experience that?
No, I have not. Maybe I've been using it as much then.
Okay.
I know that ChatGPT was doing something, it does something similar with the free version. If you send so much requests within a time, it would tell you to wait a certain amount of time.
Okay,
Maybe
yeah.
on ChatGPT, I use the paid version, but I haven't used this
Yeah, I
as
use a
much
paid version
where,
for ChatGPT too, but I've never even experienced that on ChatGPT 3.5. And I
Mhm.
think I used a
Oh, okay.
lot of requests at
I
one
had
time, but I just
I
noticed
had the
that.
same experience.
Hmm.
Oh, you had the same experience. Yeah. So,
Yes, I had the same.
yeah. So it might be right now, they might still limit some of the requests to, um, there might be some restriction around the request where you can only make a certain amount of requests within a certain period of time, which is understandable because when we make this request, it is doing something behind the scenes. So, I mean, I understand. And I like using it just for the fact that it is very detailed,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, yes.
So is Yashan said it's because of the token capacity. Yes, it does. Like most of, I use some other AI sites too, and you have to buy token to be able to use it to generate whatever you need to generate. So it is using something on the back end that probably is costly for them. So maybe that's why they limit it. And this Claude 3 Haiku, the one that is free, when I did compare the simple request that I'm making to ChatGPT's 4 that I'm paying for, I feel that this is much detailed than what ChatGPT 4 is giving me. So hopefully maybe in the future they would increase the number of requests you can make or do something with it where it is 100% free.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I can switch to the pro, but I just was just wondering if y'all was experienced the same thing I experienced. So
Oh yeah, I
yeah.
haven't experienced that. Okay, cool. All right. So this, like I was saying, Claude 3 is what we will use in Amazon Bedrock. So the next thing we are going to do is just when I when I started this project and I was looking on how to get started with Amazon Bedrock, I did a Google research, and the Google research brought me to this. Just a second, let me open it. The Google research brought me to this AWS blog page where it just talks about Anthropic's Claude 3, that it was available and how to use it. So to get started on this project, this was what I read. So here it talks about just Claude 3. Go ahead, Amit.
Yeah, sorry. I was gonna ask if you could be sending us any link you open so that we could, saving it because I'm making notes of everything.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
All right. I'll post this link here so you guys have it. So that is the link to this blog. So when I was doing a research, this was the blog that I found on how to get started. And I read this. And once I read this, that was pretty much what I used to get started. And after reading this, really it talks about Claude here. Then when you scroll down here, it is showing you pretty much how to get access. So that's the first thing we have to do, is request access to this module in our AWS account. So in your AWS account, you are not sure. I don't know why my page is not loading up properly today. That's so weird. Okay, there you go. In your AWS account, go to the Bedrock service and select Amazon Bedrock under services. On this page, click on this icon here to open this menu, then scroll down. And here under module access, you are going to select this. And on this page, you are going to click manage module access. Then scroll down here. So on this here, Claude 3 is not available in your account by default. So you have to submit a use case. When I submitted a use case, it didn't take that long for AWS to approve it. You just have to fill out the form and explain what your use case is. And once you've done that, you should have access to it. So here we will click submit use case detail. And here you just fill out some information. So when I was filling out the information for you guys, you can just enter AOS note. So I'm going to enter AOS note here. If you don't have a company name, but if you work for your company, you're working for any company, you can use your company name. I don't think this form is really, there isn't any limitations to whether they will approve you or not. I think it's just a form they want you to fill.
You went to, where did you go again? Is it overview?
So
Get to that form.
So are you on this page? So if you scroll down
Yes.
here, module access,
Okay.
and you should see manage module access. Once you click it, scroll down and you'll be here.
Okay. I see it. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. So here under company name, just enter a company name. If you don't have a company name, enter AOS node. Company's website, you can use my website. It is aosnode.com. What industry do you operate in? I'll pick education. And who are your intended users? We would say internal employees. Will you be using Anthropic module for any of the following. When I did it, I select none of the above. Then you can describe your use case here. So I'm just going to type something. I'm working on a project that involves using Anthropic's Claude to visualize and organize a data to gain deeper knowledge, something like that. Just put like you're working on a project and you need to use. I'm going to put I am working on a project and I need to use Anthropic to visualize and organize the data. That's what I'll put.
Quick question, Aziz.
Yes.
Yeah, I must have missed maybe the part where we probably explain why we are doing this. Is it because we don't have like the visualization platform, or why are we doing this?
AWS wants you to request access to the module. Not all of them, they don't make all the modules you will use available to you. For this one, you have to request access to it, and they want you to fill out this form
Gotcha.
to get
Okay.
access to it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Maybe that's why there's a limitation on it. I
Mhm.
was thinking maybe that's why I was getting that request limit because I didn't have this. So
Yeah. Good job. I'll just put this as why I'm requesting access to it. So for your describe your use case. So just put I am for describe your use case. For describe your use cases, enter I am working on a personal project and I will use Claude 3 to analyze the data. Then scroll down here. My Zoom is in the way and click submit. And we have submitted the use case. I couldn't tell how long it took, but it didn't take that long. Maybe I'll refresh it. And let's scroll down here. And I'm going to, once you refresh, click manage module access again and scroll down here. Let's see if we have access to it. Yes, we do. So it didn't take that long at all. You just need to fill out that form. So to do that again, I'm going to cancel here. Once you fill out your use case form, you refresh your page, then click manage module access again. Scroll down here. The module we want to use is Claude 3 Haiku. Click it. Check this box. Once you check that box, scroll down and click request module access. And that's all you need to do to request access to it. So I'm going to click refresh again. It says it is in progress. I'll give it some time. It says it may take several minutes. So I'll give it some time and I'll click refresh again. You should see a sign here that it has been approved. So let's wait several minutes and I'll click the refresh button again to make sure that it has been approved. Need to click refresh again. We're still in progress. Give it some time. Is it approved on you guys' end, or you guys still waiting? Okay, there you go. After a couple of minutes, click the refresh button, and here under Claude 3 Haiku, you'll see that access has been granted.
Yeah, I'm still waiting. So.
Okay. We'll give it a couple of minutes. Then. Let me know once you guys have access to it.
I'm redoing it. I think I requested this access yesterday, and might have done it a little bit different from how we are doing it now, but they did not approve it, so still redoing it as well.
How did you request access to it? I don't think there is like much you need to do for them to approve it. Did you fill out that form and you?
Yeah, I did.
So when you click manage module access here, what are you seeing here for the Claude 3? Is it giving you an option to check the box?
Yes, it did.
Did you check the box and scroll down and click request access?
Yes, it's still showing in progress, and that's for the access that I requested yesterday.
Yeah, okay.
Hello,
That's-
sir.
Yeah,
This
hey.
is Frank.
Hey, Frank.
Yeah, I just want to add up something on him. If he's requesting for Anthropic, let him make sure that his payment details are correct, because when I was working yesterday, I remember that when my payment details failed, like I didn't have enough funds, the card I used, the asset was denied. And it took like roughly 6 minutes before they say access is denied.
Okay.
So let him make sure to
Okay,
update
thank you.
and request again.
Yeah, okay.
But I
Yes.
did it for Cloud 3 Sonnet. I didn't use Haiku.
Oh, you did. So this one is a paid version even on the Claude's website. And
Yeah.
the
Yeah, that's
Claude
the
3
issue.
Haiku is free on the site. So when you guys are requesting access, request access to this one, it is more than enough to do what we are trying to do. So I wouldn't use this one since it is much, even on their site, you have to have a pro plan to have access to that one. So
Yeah, but that's what it is. It wants to, because like even if AWS don't charge you, they want to validate your card. So I gotta open my card up and do it again. That's why it's not going through.
yeah.
Yeah, correct. That's what happened with it. They didn't charge me.
One more question.
Okay, sure.
Are we requesting this with the root account or with the IAM account?
I am using an IAM user with administrator access.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So there isn't much to do here once you request access. Once you have access to it, you can start using it here. So to use it, you can click on text, because this is a text and vision module. So you can click text here. And in here, it would ask you to select your module. So if you click select module, and here I'm going to pick Anthropic, and the Claude 3 haiku that I requested access to is here. Going to select it and click apply. Now I am in the text playground. I can ask it any question just like I would on the site. So on the AWS console, if I ask it to write a Terraform, if I ask it to write a Terraform code to create an EC2 instance, it will do the same. So I'm going to type my request and click run. And here it is doing the same thing, writing the code and giving me the response here. So when I was testing it, that is all I did in the console. Once I know this works, the next step is to figure out how to interact with it programmatically. Because when you start building an application and you want that application to have some type of AI feature in it, it will be programmatically, the application will be interacting with it programmatically. It wouldn't be something where you would have to come in the console and type your request in here. So the request is just for me to see how this works. And once remember I told you guys that anytime you are working on a project, if it is a project you are working on for the first time, the first thing you want to do is understand how to set it up in the management console. And once you are in the management console, look at some of the configuration settings you see, because most likely that is the same thing you will need when you write the code to interact with it programmatically. So here we take note of, we have this section, which is where we send the message to Claude. Here we have some configuration settings that you can adjust, but I'll leave it the same exact way it is. Now, once I saw this, the next thing I did is on that same blogs page, on the blog page, if you scroll down here, they gave a section. There is a section where they are showing you how to interact with Claude using Bash. They are showing you here how to interact with Claude using a Bash script and how to interact with Claude using Python. When I write my Python code, I really don't write my Python code in a function because, again, I'm not really an expert at Python, but I understand how to write a simple Python code to do what I need to do. So when we write our Python code, we'll make it as basic as we can to send our request and get the response, and we'll use the response in the way we want to use it. But as a continuation for this project, you can always take what you've learned and build on the code and make the code as efficient as you want to make it. So here I just looked at their code and I saw pretty much what the code looks like. And that is pretty much how I started the Python project. So to start our Python project, to send a request to Claude in Amazon Bedrock, the first thing you have to do, I'm mentioning this now, but for you guys already know it. But for those that may be watching, if you don't know, since we want to write a Python code to interact with Claude in AWS, as a prerequisite, you have to have AWS CLI installed on your computer. You have to have Python installed. And in AWS, you have to create an IAM user with programmatic access, and you can use that user's credentials to interact with your AWS account. I already have AWS CLI and Python installed on my computer, but when I edit this video later on and I post it, I'm going to include the steps on how you can install Python and AWS CLI if you don't already have it installed. So since we already have Python and AWS CLI installed on our computer, in the management console, we are going to create an IAM user with programmatic access if you guys don't have an IAM user. So I'm just going to create an IAM user. In the management console, I'm going to type IAM. Before I do that, in the management console, I'm going to open a new tab here because I'm not going to close the Bedrock page, and type IAM in the search box. Select IAM under services. And on the IAM dashboard, select users and create a user. Give the user a name. I'll call it Bedrock user. Once you've given the user a name, we would not give the user access to the AWS Management Console. Click Next. On this page, we will attach a policy directly to this user. So I'm going to click Attach Policies Directly. Then under Permissions Policy, I'm going to select the Administrator Access. If you don't see Administrator Access here, you should see it. You should see Administrator Access here, but if you don't see it, you can type it in the search box the same exact way you see the name, and just check the box when you see it. Then scroll down and click Next. On this page, you can review the details and click Create User. Once you create your IAM user, I just noticed that I spelled the name wrong. It is okay. Let me do that. No, it's fine. I hate, what do I want to do? Do I want to recreate it, or I'm going to delete it and create the user again? So I'm just going to create it real quick. So I'm going to create my user, give my user a name. I'll call it Bedrock user. Click Next here. We are going to attach a policy directly to the user. Click Attach Policies Directly and scroll down here and select Administrator Access by checking this box. Then scroll down, click Next. On this page, you review the summary and click Create User. We have successfully created the user, is here. Once you have created the user, select the user's name and select the Security Credentials tab. On this page, scroll down and click under Access Keys, click Create Access Key. Then select Command Line Interface. Scroll down, click Next. Before you click Next, check this box to acknowledge and click Next. We are not going to enter a description here, and we will just click Create Access Key. We have successfully created our access key and secret access key. Once you have created your access key and your secret access key, you can click on Download CSV file here to download the CSV file on your computer. Or you can just copy this access key and secret access key in a notepad on your computer. I'm going to download the CSV file. So just real quick, I'm going to show you guys how to configure it. But since I'm exposing my access key and secret access key and I'm broadcasting live, I'm just going to change it after. So to configure your IAM user's credentials on your computer, you are going to open, if you are using PowerShell, if you are using a Windows computer, open PowerShell, and if you are using a Mac computer, open your terminal. I'm going to open my terminal. Then I'm going to type AWS configure. Once you type AWS configure, press enter. Then it is going to ask you for your user's access key. Copy it from here. Paste it there. Press enter. It is going to ask you for the secret access key. Copy it from here by clicking this box. Paste it in your terminal. Press enter. It is going to ask you for the region. The region that I'm going to be working in is US East 1. I'm going to type US East 1. And if you are working on this project, you should know how to find the region. But just in case if you don't know how to find the region is up here in your AWS console. If you select this drop down, these are the regions. So once you type your region in here, press enter. And under default output, I'm going to press enter because I don't need a default output. Press enter. And this is how you configure your user's access key and secret access key on your computer. Once you've configured your user's access key and secret access key on your computer, then we can start writing our code in Python. But before we do that, I'm going to delete my access key and redo it. So just give me a second. Okay. So we are pretty much ready to start writing our Python code. Okay, sorry. All right. So now that we have configured our user's credentials, now we can start writing our Python code. So I'm going to create a folder on my computer. So for the first thing, create a folder on your computer. Anywhere on your computer, I'm going to choose my desktop and create a folder for this project. I see. Okay. For the folder, you can call it Bedrock project. So I've created the folder here. I called it Bedrock project. Then open Power. Once you have created the folder, open Visual Studio Code on your computer. Once you open Visual Studio Code, the next thing you are going to do is open that folder you just created. To open the folder, I'm going to click File, Open Folder, and I'm going to browse to the location where I created the folder. It is on my desktop, and here I called it Bedrock project. Where is it? Why can't I see now? All right. I don't know why I couldn't see it. I called it Bedrock project right here. Once you select the folder, don't double click to go into the folder. Just select the folder once and click Select Folder. So you should open the folder here. Then the next thing we are going to do is create a Jupyter Notebook file. I like working with Jupyter Notebook because when I write my Python code, it allows me to run the code and see the results before I move on to the next thing. So for those of you that are following along, if your Claude 3 hasn't been approved yet, it usually don't take that long, but once you get all your payment stuff rectified, it should be approved shortly after that. By the time we are done writing this code, it should be approved. So for now, you can still follow along. Then the next thing we are going to do is create a Jupyter Notebook file. To create the Jupyter Notebook file here, going to right click anywhere in this open space. You can see the folder I opened is the Bedrock project here. And in that folder, that is where I am creating my file. So I'm going to right click anywhere in here, select new file, and give the file a name. I'll call this file analyze fund because that is what the code would do. Once you enter the name of the file you want to create, you can call it any name you want. Enter an extension of IPYNB. So I'm going to enter a period and enter IPYNB. Then press enter. This is going to create your Jupyter Notebook file. Once you have created your Jupyter Notebook file, we will start writing our code. But before we write our code, let's download the data we want to analyze and add that data to our project folder. Remember, we will be in this project, we will be analyzing, we will use Bedrock to analyze this Vanguard fund. So ultimately what we want to do is in this fund,
AZ, can you put that link inside the chat too?
Sure, I will.
Thank you.
No problem. Also great. In this fund, Vanguard is invested in over 200 companies. And these are the amount of shares they bought in each of the companies this fund is invested in. As an investor, I wanted to know how the amount of shares Vanguard bought in these funds are changing from month to month. Since there are over 200 companies in this fund, it will be an impossible task for me to try to try to physically analyze this data to tell the difference in funds from month to month. As a simple project, this is what we will use Bedrock to solve. The same process of using Bedrock to analyze this data, you can pretty much repeat the same process to use Bedrock to analyze any type of data you are trying to analyze. As long as if you are giving it the data as a text prompt that it can read. Claude 3 we are using works with text, and it also works with vision too, meaning that the data you are sending to it can also be an image, and it is capable of analyzing it. So what we want to do here is, once you scroll down to the equity section, here you should see the holdings, and we have the holdings here for January 2024 and February 2024. So I want you to download the data for January 2024. So this is January 2024 here. If you scroll up here, click Export Full Holdings. That is going to download the holdings for January. And let's go into the folder where you downloaded it to. It is going to download it in your downloads directory. So if you click on the folder here, it is going to open it. It is going to open your downloads directory where you downloaded that data to. And I'm going to, and this is the file. This is the file I just downloaded. So for this file, this is our January holding. So let's just rename it. I'm going to right click on it and click rename, and I'll call it January holding. So I'll call it JAN_holdings. So that way we know it is for January. Once you have renamed the CSV file, we will do the same thing for the February. So on the Vanguard's website, select this drop down and select the report for February. Then click Export Full Holdings. Then go to the folder on your computer where you downloaded it to and rename the file. Okay. The reason why I can't save it is because the file is open on my computer when I downloaded it. So make sure you close the file and retry, and you should be able to save it. All right. So once you have renamed the file, January holdings and February holdings, now let's add those two data into our project folder. In Visual Studio Code, I'm just going to open Visual Studio Code where my project is, and I'm going to bring that folder up again here. Then select those two files. So I'm holding down the Control key and selecting both files. Once you select them, drag and drop them into your project folder. So in your Bedrock project folder in Visual Studio Code, you should have those two files there. And at the end, you will see that they are a CSV file. In those files, you can select them to open it. You can see February holding. You can see here it is February and the data in it. And here we have the January holding. If you look here, it says January. So now that we have added our CSV file into the folder, we can start writing our Python code. So to write our Python code, the logic is very simple, right? We have these two data that we want to analyze. All we have to do is send this data to Bedrock. All we have to do is send this data to Claude 3 in Amazon Bedrock to analyze. And once we are able to send that data to it, it is going to respond, and we are just going to save our response to a file. So the main thing I tried to solve the first time I worked on this project is, how do I send my data to Bedrock in AWS? Okay. So to start writing our Python code, the first thing we are going to do is import the modules that we need. The first one is Boto3. So we are going to type import Boto3. Then press enter. Then we are going to import a CSV module because the data we are analyzing is in CSV. So type import CSV. Then press enter. And the next module we are going to import is a JSON file. So we are going to type import JSON, JSON. Right. So these are the 3 modules we are going to import. Once we have imported them, the next thing we are going to do is authenticate to the Bedrock client in AWS. So you guys know Boto3 is how you can use Python to create things in AWS, Boto3 is how you can use Python to interact with your AWS account and create any resource you want. So in order to interact with our AWS account, we have to authenticate. And the client we will use to authenticate is the Bedrock client. And you will find this documentation you will find this information in the Boto3 documentation. For example, if you go to Google and you just type, this is what I always do, I'll just type Boto3 Bedrock client. So if you type that and press enter, most likely it would show you the documentation here. And I also believe another thing I did is, if you look in the, let me see here. All right. Another thing I did is, if you look in the sample code that was presented in this blog, you can see here that they are using the Bedrock runtime invoke module. So you can also Google this. If we try to Google this, it would probably bring us to the same Boto3 documentation, right? So I'm showing you the documentation process because when you are working and writing your own code, you'll be relying on documentation, blogs, and different examples that people have online to understand what you are trying to do. So this is the documentation here. I'm going to select this documentation. And here, you can kind of like read what the documentation does, right? So, but what we want to do is, this is not necessarily, we will use this later on, but what we want is the client. So this will be this first one here. And you can see the class Bedrock. To use this client to authenticate to AWS, I'm going to post the link in the chat. To use this client to authenticate, you just have to use this, right? Then in here, in this client, some of the things you can do is here. Once you authenticate with this client, some of the things you can do are listed here. So I was looking for something. Just a second. Okay. So all we have to do is copy this portion of this code. Once you copy it, go back to your code in Visual Studio Code. And let's open a new code block by clicking under this box and paste it here. All right. So once you paste it, we can run our code for now to make sure everything is working. So I'm going to run the first one. That was successful. Before I run the second one, I'm going to rename this client. So this is a variable and it is storing this variable. It is storing the client to authenticate to Bedrock as this variable. And this is even not the client that I want. I want to use the other client. So let me go back to the documentation. You know what? This is what I did when I was working on this code. I just copy this. Let me copy this and paste it here. Because there's different clients that you can use to authenticate. So Bedrock runtime. This is the one I used. That was why I was looking at the documentation. So just to show you guys in Google here, I'm just going to go back and try that again. In Google, type Bedrock runtime. Underscore runtime. Button 3, you can see it here. And press enter. That would bring you here and you should see the Bedrock runtime here selected. I got to this page based on this sample Python code in this blog, right? They are using the Bedrock runtime because in this client, you have the method to invoke a model, which is what we want to use. So this is the one we should be using. I'm going to copy this and send it to you guys. All right. So when I record it again, you guys can see it. So here, we are going to copy this. Then go back to our Visual Studio Code. Click code here to add a new cell block and paste it there. Once you paste it, for the variable name, I always like to change my variable name. Normally in the documentation, it will be stored as client, but you can change it to anything you want. So here, I'm going to call it Bedrock client. So I renamed it as Bedrock underscore client, and it is storing it to this button 3 Bedrock runtime client. Then here, I'm going to run my code and run this one. And everything is running successfully. So once you have run your code and everything is successful, we are going to create another code block here. Then the next thing we are going to do is store these files as a variable that we can use in our code. To store these files as a variable, I'm going to call the first file. Let's work with the January files first. Let's work with the January CSV file first, because whatever we do with that file, we're going to do the same thing with the February holdings. So for the January file holdings, I'm going to store it as a variable. To store the file as a variable, I'm going to name that file. I'm going to name that variable January holdings. So I'm going to type Jan underscore holdings. Similar to the same exact name I'm using here, but without the extension. Then enter equals to the name, right? The name of the file is January holdings. So here I'm going to right click on this file name and I'll click rename. Then press Control A or Command A if you are on a Mac computer. Copy the entire name. Let me try that again. Going to right click on it, rename. Press Control A and Control C to copy the name, and I'm going to paste it in here. In double quotes, paste it. I always like copying the name so that way I don't accidentally type anything wrong. So basically we are storing this January holdings file in a variable. That's all we are doing here. Then you can run your cell. Then once you have saved that file to a variable, what we are going to do is we have to, what we are going to do is we are going to open this. Just a second, someone is trying to join. So in order to be able to use this file in your Python code, you have to open the file. So in Python, to open the file, let's add another code. To open a file in Python, you type with open. You can click it here and it is going to, once you type with open, add a parenthesis. Then you specify the name of the file you want to open. The name of the file we want to open is this. The name of the file we want to open is this January holdings file. So I'm going to type the variable name January holdings and add a comma and add a space. And you are going to enter a mode. So type mode and equals. And in a double quote, enter R. The R means you want to read that file. Then outside of that quote, add another comma. Then add another space. Then here, type new line. Equals to a quote. So here we're just creating this variable that has nothing in it. It's just an empty string. Then add another comma, then a space, then type encode. Encoding, you should say here, selected equals to, in a quote, type UTF-8. So pretty much we are opening this file with an encoding of UTF. Then outside of that bracket, add another space as file. Then a colon. So these examples, I actually got them online. So if you don't really want to struggle with understanding what this does, you can, the concept you would type online is how do I open a CSV file in Python? You'll see hundreds of examples there. So with opening the files, the concept that I wanted to understand is how do I open this file? And if you understand what you are trying to do, you'll find the answers online. So once you type this, press enter. Then here you are going to, according to my research, you are going to create a CSV reader. So the CSV reader goes like CSV underscore reader. space equals, then type CSV again, dot reader, and in that bracket, type file. So again, this example, I got it from online, right? Because what I wanted to know is how do I open this file? So this is the Python code to read a file. So we want to read this January holdings file. Then once you type that, press enter again. Then we are going to create our own variable called formatted January holdings. And we are going to pretty much read this file and store whatever is in this file in that variable. You will see what it looks like at the end. So here, let's just create a variable. I'm going to call it, you see this January holdings variable name. I'm going to copy it, but I'm going to call it, this is a different variable, but we are storing this variable is for this CSV file. But once we read the file, we will store whatever is in it in another variable that we are calling formatted January holdings. So I'm going to call it formatted underscore, going to paste that there. So I'm calling it formatted January holdings, meaning that whatever I read from here, the format version of it, going to type equals to an empty string. Then once we create that empty string, based on the research I did, then we are going to write a for loop in Python. And what that for loop does is it will loop through all the rows in our Excel, and it will loop through all the rows in the CSV file, and it will store it in our formatted January holdings variable. So we are pretty much trying to read, because this is a CSV file. So we want to read everything out of it, and we will store it as a string. That string is what we are going to give to Claude in Amazon Bedrock. So here we'll add a for loop. We'll type for row in CSV reader is then add a colon at the end. Then press enter. Then type formatted January holdings. Formatted January holdings, space, plus, equals, then another space, add a quote, and in that quote, enter a space, add this straight line here, and another space, like that. So in the quote, add this space line. In the quote, add this straight line, and make sure there's a space between them, and enter a period, join, then type row, then outside of that bracket, you want to enter a plus, space, and another quote, then type a / and an N. So again, I just need to know how to open a file. I got help from online to write this code. So based on the research I did and some of the examples I saw, this is how what this code is doing is it is reading this CSV file, and as we are reading it, we are storing each row in the CSV file in this variable we created here. And the result we will get is all the content of this January holdings file will be stored as a list. Not as all the content in this January holdings file will be stored as a string, not a list, a string. So you guys know, like you guys know in Terraform when we have a list. I keep saying a list. Why am I saying a list? You guys know in Terraform where we have a string, right? This is a string. So basically we want to quote everything in this January holdings, right? So that's what this code is doing. So I'm going to run it, and that ran successfully. And to see what we just did, you just have to print formatted January holdings. So I'm going to type formatted January holdings here and run that, and you can see it here. So you can see it pretty much add everything in the CSV file in a quote. So that is a string. Because the reason why we have to do it this way, because you can't just give, based on my research, you can't just give, when we are writing the JSON file that we are going to send to Claude, you can't reference this CSV file just like that. So first you have to read it and format it into a string. Then you give the JSON file the string. That's how it works. So once you've done it, you should have a string that pretty much has all the information in that CSV file in it. So for any, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just thinking, maybe when we are done with the project on a high level, we might just want to be able to list the steps concerning things we want to do. Like the first thing, we download our modules, and then the next one we get the client for Bedrock, and then just list the other things just on a
Okay.
high level and
Okay.
add more value. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So we have the stuff, we have all the information in the January CSV file here, and we have added, we have pretty much turned it into a string, right? We just need to do the same thing for February. So here I'm going to add another code, right? And I'm just going to create another variable for February. So here, all I'm just going to do is copy this, paste it here, and just rename it. This should be February, right? So the same name you see here. And the file is February holdings.csv. So here, just call this February, right? So when you are copy pasting, please remember to rename everything you are doing. Then once we have created that variable, right, we need to do the same thing we did here. We need to read everything out of this CSV file and format it into a string we are going to send to Bedrock. So I'm just going to add another code, and I'm going to copy this, paste it here. Then all this line stays the same because you are reading the CSV file. So we are opening the file and reading it. And for the variable we want to create for February, we just need to change this to FEB for February holdings and do the same thing here.
Do we do the same thing for the top, open with, and make it change it to February?
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, we do. Yeah, I missed that. So thank you. Okay. So yeah, so with open, we want to open the CSV file that we variabled here at February holdings. So here, make sure this name is the same as your variable name here. Then we want to create another variable for the formatted version. Once we open this file, we want to format it into a string. So we created an empty string here. And when we loop through all the rows in the variable, when we loop through all the rows in the CSV file, we are going to save them in this formatted holding variables. And that is how we turn it into a string. And you just have to excuse me because, again, what you are saying is, how do I explain it? Working as a cloud engineer, right? One of the questions you get is, do you have to be a Python programmer, right? And I always say yes and no. As you can see, I'm not an expert Python programmer. I don't even think I'm close. I can read some Python code to some extent, but the main thing I always encourage you guys to learn is that when you are a cloud engineer, try to understand the basics of how you can use any language that is required for you to know. Try to understand the basics of how you can use that language to do whatever you need to do, right? So for me, I understand the basics of how to use Python to get a job done in AWS. And even if it's something I don't know, I understand how to do research on it to find the proper code syntax that I need to do whatever I need to do. So when I was writing this, I didn't just come up with this and just start typing away and writing it. I found tons of examples online, and I pretty much, and that was how I came to this conclusion of I need to read the file, turn it into a string before I can send it to Bedrock. So here, I'm going to run my February variable holdings. Then I'm going to run this. Then to see the formatted version for the February, we are going to add a code, type formatted February holdings here, and run it. So you can see we've turned the content of the February holdings into a string. And if you can see here, you can see this is for February and this is for January. All right, so once you have turned, so let's talk about this part. So everything we've done now, that is what you would do for any file you are trying to send to Bedrock. The rest of the things we are going to do, that is just copying the Bedrock code, pasting it into our code, and sending these two files to them, right? So if you are trying to send any file to Bedrock for Bedrock to analyze, first understand that you have to turn it into a string. At least from the research I did, when I tried to give Bedrock this file, it didn't work. It's not like Bedrock can analyze this file, but code-wise, how Python is going to interpret everything, you can't just reference this name directly in your code. First, you have to open it, read it, turn it into a string. Then we can implement that string into our JSON file, and you will see that shortly. So, so the next thing we need to do is write the JSON file that we are going to send to Bedrock, right? And I also get that from here. So if you look here, you can see this command prompt, right? This is where I got the example from. In their code, they have this prompt config, and this prompt config pretty much represents what you are seeing here in Bedrock. And we'll see it. So I'm going to, if you guys don't have this documentation, let me send it to you guys again. If you don't have it, I'm going to. Thank you, Wahab, for the documentation. I'm going to paste it here. Right. So in this documentation, what I did is I just copied everything here. So just this prompt config, that's all you need, right? But let me see if we can find it in an AWS documentation that is better. So you can type Bedrock prompt config. Let's see what we get. Showing the result for Bedrock. So here, this AWS documentation. I'm just looking for a sample code that I can use. Right. Bedrock configuration. Let me try this instead of saying prompt config. Still bringing me to the same page. Maybe right here, prompt configuration. So this prompt configuration, it is telling you, this is a good documentation because it is telling you what it is going to be in there. So I'm going to send this to you guys, but I'm looking for the sample code. If we can find it, I'm just going to copy the one from that documentation. Okay, let me try this one. Okay, I can't find it, so it's okay. We're just going to copy it from here. So in this documentation, just copy this one. Then once you copy it, come back to Visual Studio Code.
Are we copying the whole thing or just where it says config prompt at?
Just the config prompt part. So here in this, copy the prompt config section. So copy it from prompt config and it would end at this bracket before the curly bracket and the single bracket here. So copy the prompt config to this curly bracket. So once you copy it, come back to Visual Studio Code and create a new code block and paste it in there. I want to send my code to you guys, but it would, if I post it in Zoom, it will probably mess it up. So once you paste it in here, select everything, right? Because theirs was in a function. So just press on your keyboard, press Shift and Tab, and that will tab it back one for you. Make sure you select everything and press the Shift and Tab key. Right. So the reason why I'm getting this here is because I need, well, maybe I should say it like this. When you guys copy this prompt config, copy everything. I'm sorry. So for this prompt config, don't just copy everything here from here to here. So from this bracket to this bracket, copy everything. And I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to add a code and paste it here. So once you paste it in there, select everything and press Shift Tab to tab it out one. And you want everything starting in the beginning. So to move everything to the left one, I just press Shift Tab to do that, right? So some of the things that I added in my code, because I always try to mimic the same thing that I see, right? some of the things that I added in my code is here on the AWS console, right? You can see the settings that are here. These are the same settings that I added in my code. So to add it, we already see the one thing that I want to one question that I had is this anthropic version, right? If you guys don't know the version of whatever module you are trying to call, you can Google it, but I have the documentation page here. I'm going to send it to you guys. Okay, this is pretty much what I was looking for. Yeah. So this is what I was looking for, the documentation. So this is much clean. I'll send this to you guys. For that configuration part, you can use this. Thank you, Shamika. Right. So that is it, right? And in here, you can see they have the same settings you see here in the management console. So in the management console, we have the temperature, top P, top K, length, stop sequences, right? In the AWS documentation, those are here. So if you guys want to use this, I'm going to use this instead. No, I mean, the one we have is fine, but you guys can see where that is coming from. Then if you want to read more information on what these are doing, you can see them here.
So sorry, Aziz. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Can we go back to the Portal 3 documentation? Because I think I've been trying to understand why we're using that, and I think I get it now. So we're using the invoke model, right? Can you click on the invoke?
Yep.
The invoke model. And the body is pretty much going to be what we're doing now, right?
Exactly.
So
the body.
and if you go to that interference parameters, which is the refers to interference parameters, it pretty much takes you to the documentation, which shows you what the format of the body should look like.
Oh, exactly. Okay.
So
perfect.
if you go to
Anthropic Claude
model,
yeah.
And the API, so Claude API on the Anthropic Claude API. So yeah, this is it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so there are so many documentations out there and how to get there, right? So that config body we wrote, this is what it looks like, right? But you still need to have it. So when you are looking at this, you'll notice that AWS didn't put config prompt, right? You'll notice that AWS didn't put prompt config. But then when you look at this sample code here, they have prompt config. So you will have to reference different things and understand how it is set up, right? So that was what I did when I was working on it. But thank you, Wahab. Yes, exactly. So the documentation that I sent to you guys, this one. Oh no, I think I copied it. Where is it? So I like this one because it pretty much has a good format of what to use. So you can see here for the Anthropic version, it says that it must always be Bedrock 2023 531. So that is standard, and you can kind of see for all these settings what they are doing here. So this is this documentation. I'll send it to you guys again. And I'll post it here. All right. So another thing I added was this ones, because this wasn't in the ones we copied. So I added this just to be able to keep the same settings as what is in AWS.
So, AZ, so we're gonna keep this code that we got right now, the prompt with the prompt configure on it, and just add that last line that you just highlighted.
Yes. So,
Okay.
so just come here, just on the first one after the anthropic version, press enter and paste it there.
Okay.
And make sure you move this temperature one back, and make sure you have a comma after each one, because that is what will give you that error. So it should be anthropic, right? The temperature, well, this is pretty much what I did in AWS. The temperature says 1. So here, I'm just going to put 1. My top P in AWS says 0.999. I'm going to copy it. And here, I'm just going to use that. The top K in AWS says 250. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to use the same thing here. The stop sequence. The stop sequence in AWS says human, right? And here, in this bracket, remove the string and type a quote. In that quote, it will be /n, /n, and human. This, I found it online somewhere, because I think when I had the bracket there, it didn't work the way I set it up. So this is how you write it: /n, human, then add a colon after it. So it will look like that. Then you have your max tokens, right? I'm just going to stick to what we have in AWS. The max length is this one. It is 2,000. So I'm just going to use 2,000 here instead of 4,000. And that is pretty much it, right? Then for the message part, the role is going to be user, content bracket, right? So the content we want to send, this part we are about to write, is equivalent to the message you type in here. So for us, this is what we want to do. We are going to remove in the content. So we have our content, which is a list. In this content, we are going to remove this part. So this configuration is if the file you are sending to Bedrock is an image. For us, we are not sending an image, so we'll remove this part. Right. So we want to send text to it. So once you remove that part, I'm going to send the string that I wrote of the message that I want to ask Claude. I'm going to send it to you guys because it is long. And I'll post it on YouTube so you guys can have it. I guess I can. Because it's too long to post on YouTube. So I've sent it to you guys, right? So I'm going to, so here, once you guys copy that and replace this with that. So this is the message you want to ask Claude. So paste that here. So in this message, I'm asking it several things. So I said, I provided you with 2 documents. We'll talk about that document shortly. So this is what the message we are going to send to Claude reads. And feel free to modify it. Once you guys run it and it works, play around with your message, change your CSV file, just play around with it and see what you come up with. As I always say, the point of the projects we do is to enlighten you guys on just how something works. And I want you guys to just take that knowledge and run with it. So here, the message we are going to send to Claude is, I've provided you with 2 documents name, right? We have to, this doesn't really matter because it's a string, right? So, but make sure it is the same name as whatever name you are giving to Claude. So remember here, we called it formatted January holdings and formatted February holdings. So here, I'm just going to say formatted January holdings with an S and formatted February holdings with an S. So let's read it. It reads, I've provided you with 2 documents named formatted January holdings and formatted February holdings. Please compare these 2 documents and create a list of the top 30 holdings whose share count has changed between January and February. For each holding, please only provide the holding names, the ticker symbol, and the difference in share between January and February. So this is the message I'm sending it. You guys, I encourage you to read the AWS documentation here.
So as is, I actually put in, if you check the chats, I put in the actual documentation from Anthropic itself, which is for the API. So this actually gives the definition of each fields,
Okay.
what's required, what's required / what's optional.
Exactly.
If you scroll down to it, it's good.
Okay. Right. So this is for image, right? So there are different examples here, right? So I already see the examples the example we are using is this one right here. We are using not this one, but we are using the text one. So this is more of like what we saw in the AWS documentation. So you can see here, this is what Wahab is saying. So you can see for each one, it is showing you here what is required. And this is telling you it is a string. So this is a Boolean, meaning that it's true or false. So this is a string. So this is very good. Thank you. You guys have it in there. I'm just going to paste it here. So you guys have it. All right. So what was I saying? So what I wanted to show you guys is in the Bedrock console, if you select examples here, you'll see the different examples. So if you select this plus citation, there are different examples of how you can use the prompt. I can't remember exactly how I got to it, but it is one of these examples. If you click on it, you will see how AWS or how they are delivering the questions to Claude. So the questions, you can tell it, it's almost like you're training somebody, you're telling them exactly what you want them to do. And you can do it with a series of, you can do it with a series of questions. You don't have to do it in one question. You can tell it, I'm going to give you this. First, I want you to do this. Then after that, do this. So you can literally tell it exactly what you want it to do. And I found an example, but I can't really tell you where it is now. So that is what this message is, right? So now that we have this message, let's put your cursor over here at the end, press Ctrl+C and Ctrl+V to copy that line again. Then in this line, I should have copied it before I type that message, but remove the message. Then select this one, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. So you should have something like that, right? Then here, just make sure you add Trying to figure out. Is the content type. Okay, so I know why it is failing. It's because I haven't added the information. So once you copy this text here, right? Then the first one is the message we are telling it, right? The second one is going to be the files we are trying to give it. So we'll give it our first file and we'll give it the second file. So on that type text here, we are going to give it our formatted January holdings file. So copy this and paste it here. Right. Make sure you have a comma at the end. And on the second one, we are going to give it our formatted February holdings, which is this. Copy it, paste it here. And make sure you have a comma there, and this should be fixed. So this represents our command. This represents the prompt config that we would give Claude. The one we are working on here is based on text. We are giving it text. If you were giving it an image, you can use the documentation that Wahab sent and just look at the examples they have there, or the AWS documentation that I sent to you guys. Look at the examples of how you send an image to it. So this is the code for the body of, this is the code of the message we want to send to Claude, right? Then now, the next code we are going to write is the invoke function. I think I closed. Just close this. So now that we have the body right, the next code we are going to write is this here. So we are using the client Bedrock runtime, right? Under this client, we have a method to invoke module because that's what we want to do. So we are going to select it. And once we are going to select that, and once we select it, you can see the code here. So the code is just this, and it has the values you have to add to it. So copy this code and come back to Visual Studio Code, add a code here and paste it there. Another thing that I saw online is, let me see if I can find that documentation. So this is the example that I followed, right? So you can see in their code here, they are invoking the module. They are invoking the module here, right? And what they did is they just created a variable for it. So they created a variable for all the different properties that are under this module. And here they just passed the name of the variable. I like that method, so let's do the same thing. So in this code, if you guys don't have it, I can send it back to you. So here, right, copy this part, and in your code, add a code right before this one and paste it here. Then I'm going to remove this, and make sure you remove the tab part. So it is select everything and press Shift Tab to bring everything to the beginning. Right. So the body part is going to be, yes, does someone have a question? Okay. The body part,
I do have one question. My formatted January holdings is not turning blue to change to a variable. I don't know why.
do you have a comma? Is it giving you an error? Let me stop sharing. Do you want to share?
Yeah, give me 1 second here. It just look like this, you see. It should be blue, right? Because it's a variable. Usually when it's a variable, it
Um,
changes.
I see an error. Can you drag that to the right? Yeah. So you should, I think you are missing a comma.
Is it probably
On
this next one? Probably
no,
this one right
no.
here.
So your blue curly bracket.
Okay.
So you see your blue curly bracket, the purple one right under it, the string, add a comma there. So move your
Right here.
mouse down, bring it down to the next one of
Right,
it. Then after that one, the next one,
right
that
here.
one. Yeah, add a comma. And
What about here? Because I didn't add a comma
yeah,
here.
you need a comma there too.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Okay,
all right.
cool.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. So I copied the body. So what I did is I copied the body from the blog documentation, right? Because I like how they made that into a variable. And here, the body is going to be JSON dumps. The body is going to be JSON.dumps prompt config, which is this here. So that is what we will use. The model ID is going to be this value. And I can send you guys the documentation where I got that value from. There is, I believe there is this. And I'm sure if you look further, you will find it in the documentation, but there is, okay, no, it's this one. So for any module you are trying to call, if you are trying to look for the ID of that module, this is the AWS documentation that gives you the ID of the module. So here we are using Claude 3, Haiku, and this is the ID of that module. This is the documentation that I got that information from. So that is why here, for the module ID, we are using that. Then the next one is the application. The next one is the accept. It is application/JSON, and the content type is the same. So when we copy the client invoke module from the documentation and we paste it here, right? We are pretty much done with this. We just need to make these values equal what we have here. So for the body, remove everything here up to the equal sign. The body is going to be equal to body. The content type is going to be equal to content type. The accept is going to be equal to accept. And the model ID is going to be equal to the model ID.
Where did you get the response client invoke one? Is that the same document you paste?
Let me send to you. So it will be in the run invoke the Portal 3 documentation. So right
Okay, I
here.
don't think I. Okay.
So let me send to you. And I got the other one from here, from this documentation, the variable part of it.
Yeah, I have that one. I just didn't have
Okay.
the response one.
Okay. Yeah, it is here.
Okay.
All right. The only thing we need to change here that I'm getting the error is because remember for my client variable, I changed mine to Bedrock client here. So make sure you copy whatever name you are using as your client there and paste it here. And that is pretty much it. So once you guys are ready, you can run your code. I'm going to save my file. And I haven't run my code from here. So I'm just going to, either you can run all your code here by clicking this, or you can run your cell one by one to make sure everything is successful. So I click this one to run it. That was successful. I'm going to click this to run this. That variable was successful. Now I'm going to click this to run it. It is running it now. That's taking more time because it is sending the information to Claude and Claude is analyzing it and providing a response. That took 6.5 seconds. And that is all the time you need to analyze these two data and give us what we have asked for. So one thing that I came across when I was working on it is that if you try to print your response here, if you try to print your response, you are going to get this. And this is because this is right. It means that we were able to send our data to Claude and Claude analyze it. You can see the HTTPS status code is 200 and everything works successfully, right? But under body here, this is where the response that Claude is giving us is in. So you have to write your Python code in a way where you are able to see the content of the body. The first time I was reading their blog when in this function, when they did the same thing here, I didn't understand what this is, right? But then after I got to that point in the project, I realized that that is what this is doing. So here they are just getting the whatever is in the body. So you can see this is the body, right? It's a bunch because there's a bunch of stuff in here. That's why it's just giving you in this format. So here they just use this variable to get exactly what is in that body, right? And within what is in that body, they are getting the content. And they are getting the content, get content, and get content at index 0, get the text. That is where the response Claude is giving us is in. So that is how they got this one. So copy this from that blog and I'll send it to you guys in the chat. Just in case if you don't have it, then in your code, add another code here and paste it here. Remove the indentation in the beginning. So press Shift Tab to remove that. right? So response body equals to JSON.load and get response.get body, right? Which is this. We are getting the body of this response. Then the results, we are saving, we are creating another variable called results, and we are using that to get the content and the whatever is at index and whatever is at index 0 of content, that is where the response Claude gave us is in. So that is what this is doing. Then now if you add another code and just print your results here. And first you have to run this, then run this, and you can see the response. So here you can see, here's the list of the top 30 holdings whose share count has changed between January and February. So it's pretty much giving us the response, right? So the response is here. We can see that it did exactly what we wanted to do. Now we can just save this response to a file. To save this response to a file, we are going to add another code block. Then let's create a variable name. We'll call the variable name file name. Then add equals to, then give it a name. You can call the file name anything you want. I'll call it findings. .txt. So save it as a text file. So once you create the file name, add another code. And remember, when you are working with file in Python, you have to open a file, then tell it what you want to do with the file. So here we are going to open the file. We are going to open this we are going to open this finding.txt file, and we are going to write the results into that file. So the code is wait, open, bracket, we are going to enter file name, comma, space, quote, and enter W. The W means write. Then outside of that bracket, we are going to enter as file, colon, then press enter and type file dot write parentheses, and in that parentheses, we are writing results. So copy results from here and paste it here. Then save. So once you save, once you save your file, when we run this code, it will create this finding.txt file in our root directory for this project. So I'm going to run this, and I'm going to run this. So you can see it created the finding.txt file. If you open it, you can see the results Claude gave you in here. So that's what
I just got one error. I'm sorry. I got one error. It is the line 10, I think it is, the one for body JSON. It just says the name error, name prompt config is not defined. Did you get that?
No, share your screen. Let me see.
Okay. It's this one right here. When I ran this one right here, I think I'm getting this error from here. I was gonna put it in ChatGPT and see.
Scroll up.
All the way up?
Yeah, no, to this one, because that is what we are putting in there, right? So you didn't run that block. That's why.
This one right here?
Yeah, you didn't run it.
Oh, okay. I thought I ran it. Oh, yeah, yeah, 'cause I didn't see the check mark. Okay. All right. So then, okay, good. All right. Thank you.
No problem. All right. So after we run it, we get this, right? And this learning something like this pretty much opens the door. So now think about all the different cool ideas of different projects you can work on, where you can get a data from somewhere, get Claude to analyze the data, and use the data somewhere else. So one thing that I want to try is in that Python project we did the last time, right? That could be the next project we work on. When the first thing we did is we called the API to get a list of security groups in our account. Then we had to write the logic to find the security group that is open to the world. Then we ran the code to get a list of EC2 instances. We write the logic for that, the security group IDs that are attached to those EC2 instances. Then we wrote the logic to terminate the EC2 instance. What if we just ran the API to get the information for the EC2 and run the information and run the API to get the information for the security groups? That is going to give us the JSON file. Then we can send the JSON file to Claude, let Claude do all the analysis on it, and just give us the IDs of the EC2 instances that the SSH is open to the world. Then we can take some type of action on it and terminate it. So I'm curious to see if it is going to pinpoint exactly the ID of the EC2 instance that their SSH is open to the world. So that could be something else you guys can start working on if you are looking for a next project to work on. But I think this is a cool project because this is actually this is a question I had as an investor, where I'm always curious to knowing how the shares of a company change in a fund from month to month. So if you're actually a financial advisor or someone that knows more about analyzing different data from a company to see how well a stock is doing, right? You can pretty much find where to download all the data from the company and get Claude to give you the summary or analyze whatever you feel you need to analyze from those documents and generate some type of output that you can use to make a decision. So how people create applications and things like that is just this simple. So that's one of the reasons why I'm very excited about the AI in AWS, because now you guys saw, like, with our Python code, we only have to write the code to send our file to JSON. I mean, we only had to write the code to send our file to Claude and running the Bedrock client, running the Bedrock invoke model. We didn't write any logic to this on how this will be done. Claude did all that by itself. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. Do you guys have any questions or input or anything you wanted to say before we?
Can you go back down to line the response? I'm just trying to see if I have everything correct there because I got another error. Validation exception. Where it's response equals Bedrock client invoke
Yeah.
model. Yeah, right there.
Mhm.
Trying to see if I missed anything there. I don't see I can miss anything. I can share my screen again, but I got another
Okay, sure.
error on this one.
All right, sure. Share your screen.
Okay. And it's this one right here. Look like everything is the same. I just didn't know if I missed anything. So I got a little behind.
You add a comma under on the module ID.
Oh, add a comma there? Okay.
Try that.
Okay. I still have an error.
Okay, let me see. So response equals Bedrock client invoke module. Scroll back up. Let me see. So you have body equals body, content type equals content type, accept equals accept, module ID equals module ID. Scroll up. What did you get from the other one? Scroll up.
And 11.
Yeah. So there you have your JSON down. Application JSON. Okay. Scroll up to the number 11.
Let me scroll over so you can see where.
Okay.
That's why I had put that. I missed that comma earlier, and I put that there.
So on the no, scroll back out.
Over here.
No, yeah, that one. Drag it back to the left so I see the whole code. So on the stop sequences, right? Put put a colon in the human. After
In
the
between these
human,
ones.
put colon.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
All right.
Run it again.
Run it. Yeah.
Okay. And then try to run the other one again.
Yeah, you gotta run the other ones too. So you
Okay. So
gotta run this one. Yeah.
Okay.
And run the other one. Okay. So let me see what it's saying. So scroll down here on the accept
Scroll
only.
front.
Yeah.
Make it bigger so you can see it.
Okay. So scroll back up to your so let me just review it. There's a typo. Oh, I see. Your response, right? Your invoke, you need to indent it.
Right here.
So you see how your invoke module is, right? The body, content, and accept, those are indented in that function.
Yeah, because I had took the indent out because I thought that maybe that was the issue. So I put it back in this area. Right.
All right, save it.
Okay.
You didn't save your file. Did you
Oh,
save it?
no, I haven't been saving it actually. Okay.
All right, so
All right,
run
now
it from the first cell up there.
Okay.
That one. No, not that one, but you can run it from the prompt config one.
Okay. You want me to indent this one too? Because I had that one. Should I indent that?
No, that one is a variable.
Okay.
So, no, that one don't need to be indented. So let me see, body, content type, model ID. And if anyone says what I'm missing, let me know. So
Can you
scroll back up.
run all from the top? So just
Yeah, that's
just
true.
all the way you might be missing.
Click run all. Let's see. All right, scroll down. Let's see. I think you got the same error.
Yeah, I was gonna put this whole error in ChatGPT and see what it says because I couldn't figure out either.
The issue is somewhere in your code. So scroll back up here. Scroll back up.
Okay.
I think the issue is probably in like your prompt response equals Bedrock client invoke module. So what client are you using? Scroll back up to your client again. Let me see.
The Bolto one, the top one, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
The Bedrock. This one is the one. Do I change it from Bedrock runtime into a client?
Okay, so Bedrock client. Bedrock client Bluetooth 3. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so scroll down to your prompt config because everything is working up to that part. So we just need to figure out that part. So scroll down to your prompt config here. Scroll down a little bit more. Okay, leave it here. Let me compare it to my code.
Okay. Or if you could copy and paste your code and bring it to me,
Yeah,
I'll put it in there.
yeah. That's the next thing I'm gonna do. If
Yeah, at this point.
so, and so that works. Message colon rows user content text comma. So drag it out to the end. Let me see what's at the end.
That was the one I put the comma on early when I had that first error.
Yeah, so drag it to the end. Let me see. Oh, so I'll put a colon at the end of your
You put a regular
February
colon right here?
after the in the quote after the period.
Okay. So there's a regular comma in there, right?
There's a comma there. I can't. No, what you? So don't remove that. The bracket, everything you add it should stay the same way.
Okay, let me undo it then.
So I'm saying in your at the end of your period, it should be period colon quote.
Like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Save it and run it again.
Okay.
Did you save it?
Yes. Oh no. Forgot. I gotta save it. All right. Let's try that again. Okay. And then run everything else behind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So next is probably this one I need to look at.
Yeah. So body JSON dumps prompt config content application JSON model IP. That is weird. So let me just send you my
Yeah, because when I put it in
well,
ChatGPT, it gave me a different format. So
let me send you my prompt config because there's probably something
okay.
in there you are missing, but I can't see it.
Okay.
So I'm going to send it to you on
I'll stop
Slack.
here. Okay.
Okay, I sent that on Slack and I'm going to send you this one. You can share so that way I see that.
Okay. Let me share it again then. All right. So the first one is
The config prompt.
okay.
Is everyone else's code working? Did anyone else get an error or?
I got the
I
same
was
error.
I was not able to do it yet because they did not approve my request yet. So I'm not
Okay.
sure. I have organization in my account. I have to undo everything and try it
Oh
later.
yeah, it could be that, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
And
So
check your payment method because they had the wrong payment method as my default payment. That had the problem, so that's why I got a little behind.
It keeps yelling about the payment as well, but the payment is correct. So there are a lot of things I might have to check.
okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. So okay, so
Likewise, me as is.
okay, so share your screen, let me see. You are muted, Shamika.
This is the first one you sent, right? So paste that first. Okay, and then the second one, and you see when I paste it back in there, it does that again.
All
It
right,
turns this
so that
white.
means what did you call your variable for that? So scroll up, paste whatever you called your variable that. So that's what you called your variable, formatted February holdings,
Mhm.
right? So copy
Yes,
that. So copy that.
just this part right here, right?
You can copy from down there where you printed it because you know that one is right.
Okay.
31. So put it on the February part, the bottom part. I don't think it matters, but at this point, gather.
Okay, that
Right.
worked. Okay.
So
Oh, you know what? I just realized that's why it's not doing it right because I have forgot the S in it. I think that was the problem. Just that little bit. Yeah, see, I missed the S
all
on
right.
that one.
So okay, copy
The second one.
the second one, yeah.
Okay. Oh, and that's probably why too. I think my model, if this is the one you sent me, my model was up there, and that might have been the problem too.
Well, no, it's just variable. I don't think it
You
matters
didn't?
where the
Okay.
order, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So then, and then the second
So
one, the response one.
mhm.
Okay. And then to save
You're
it right
missing
before I
you're missing you didn't copy everything. You're
Oh,
missing the
okay.
comma.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. And then try to run it from the top for the first one, right?
Yeah, run it all. Let's see.
Or run all. Yeah.
Yeah, run
Okay.
all. It's working.
Yes.
So there's a typo somewhere in your code. We just couldn't find it. Sometimes when you're looking at code, it's hard to debug it, you know.
I
So
think it was the S because if you notice, like I didn't have the S at the end or something, and then I don't know, but it's weird because where your code looked like how it's formatted, I didn't have it formatted correctly the same way. I mean, you said it didn't matter. I think maybe that could have been a problem too. I don't know because I had it maybe different at the top.
because that one is a variable. So as long as your name is matching what is in your invoke module, it will work. So the order you list the order you list those variables does not matter as long as those
Okay.
variables comes before your invoke module. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, there could just be a typo in it somewhere that we
Okay.
couldn't catch. Yeah,
All right. Thank you.
no problem. So who else is having issue? Peter, I think you said you were having issues too.
Yeah, I'm getting the same issue, but I'm just going through now to find if there's any typo.
Do you want to share your screen?
Yes, I can share.
Okay. So yeah, yours looks like it has typo. So you see over there, you have that text, remove under your content, remove the text part.
Okay, okay.
remove those bracket. Yeah, that bracket with those two texts at the top. Remove those ones.
I should remove
Yeah.
fully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So you can close the gap. Okay. Then make sure, okay, yours is called formatted February holdings, formatted January holding. All right. So drag it to the right. Let me see what is at the end.
I'd already put this colon and then I removed it when it was the same.
Yeah, so that should have a colon there. Then
and then you said we should put this to columns here equally.
so that yes, there's a colon there. So that is right.
Okay.
And the body. So another thing we need to, okay, run that cell and run the second one and run the third one. Okay, it's working. If it's taking more than
It's taking more
1
than
seconds to run, it's working.
yeah, it's okay. It was that text. Yeah.
All right. So you can
run
run that last one, then print your results. Yeah,
yeah,
you should.
print the results.
Well, if you print your result, you're not going to see it. So, well, you will see it. Yeah, you will see it. Yeah, sorry. But you have to then, if you want to save it to a file, then you have to write the code to save it to a file.
Oh, I thought I did so. Okay.
So I can send you that code to save it to a file. So.
Yeah. I thought you already sent it in the chat. Let me see.
No, that was the other one.
Okay. All right.
So I'll send that code to you. Then you can. Just a second.
Just drop it in the chat, please.
Oh, you did?
No, I'm saying just drop it.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So I've sent it.
Yeah, got it.
All right.
Okay.
And you can, the
Yeah.
file. There you
go. Okay. I saw your response was showing a plus sign in front of this number.
So Claude is doing whatever it wants to do. Like I'm sure if you and I type different, it's giving us what we asked it to do, but it might respond slightly different from your response might be slightly different from mine. You understand?
So since we have because if we have, as we were talking about the project of using this methodology and applying it to our security group, and if we have to analyze its response to take actions, will that not jeopardize some of the commands that we may have to write if it's given different response format?
Not necessarily. Here it is giving us the response in like a sentence. So we just wanted to see the response in a sentence. But if we wanted to give us something specific, we will tell it exactly. This is how we expect the output to be. So you can always, it's almost like you can tell it specifically exactly what you want. So, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, no problem. Does anyone else having error in their code? Mr. Larry, I thought you were having error.
No, I will redo it
Okay.
at my convenience.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. That's pretty much it. Do you guys have any feedback? What do you think? And suggestion, is it a project you like? And we can pretty much wrap it up for today.
I think this is
I
just
like
the
it.
tip of the iceberg. I'm sure it's just a little portion of whatever we call generative AI. It has a lot of research that has to be done and then streamline it to any project that anyone wants to do. So it's a good start. It's a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So let's
It
really
gives
like
an
it.
idea of what we can implement in whatever we call generative AI, and it tells us that you have to really do a lot of research. There's a
yeah.
lot of information that you're going to get online. You need to know exactly what you're looking for and how to pull out exactly the sentences, the text, the coding, and I'm sure before you had to do this, you had many blocking points. It has taken us maybe a shorter time than what you went through before preparing this project.
Aziz,
Yes, sir.
I think with this project, I think one has to be more familiar with or have a good understanding of Python before you can at least go into this kind of project. It looked like advanced to me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But it is more, you know what, when I send you guys my code with the comments on it, look at it. So Mr. Larry, what I want you to think of is all the code I was typing, trust me, that wasn't me. I'm not going to tell you guys that that was me just typing all those codes, right? I'm talking about initially when I worked on this project. The main thing that I want you guys to always focus on is what are you trying to do? If you understand what you are trying to do, let me show you. I'm going to share my screen. So let's say here, for example, right? I want to read this file. I want to open I want to open a CSV file, right? Or read a CSV file. One thing about the Python community is it is so big and they have so much code out there that there's almost anything you are trying to do, there is an answer for it. So I just type Python code to read CSV file. See, before I even, it is showing me that. And yeah, if you even look on reading the data here, so you can see all these examples.
Yeah, that's where I
Right.
usually go for my
Imp
references.
So you can see import CSV, right? Right. File reader, right? Which is what we have. So some people might write it differently, but which is why I said, really your job as a cloud engineer is more of like doing research. That's what I'm saying. The research part, the referencing documentation, going back and forth is one of the things that you would have to do, right? But another thing you can do is use Claude. You are going to send it the question, please, you guys, what is the difference between asking AI like Claude and asking someone like me how to do something? There's no difference. So you guys don't think you are less smart because you are asking AI how to do something. I use AI to teach me something. So maybe what you can do is once you understand the concept of what you are trying to do, you like, for example, when I got to this part and I was trying to give my file to JSON, when I was trying to reference my CSV file here, when I found in the AWS documentation, the prompt config is what I need. I was putting my file here, the file name here, and it didn't work. And I asked Claude, I'm referencing my file name here. Why isn't it working? Then Claude said, you can reference your file name there directly. In order to be able to use your file there, you have to open the file, format it into a string, and use it like this. That was how I know that I need to open the file. So mainly what I'm trying to say, Mr. Lanre, is mainly it's the concept. Once you understand the concept of what you are trying to do, you will figure out how to do it. And writing the code part I'll be lying to you if I tell you that it was just straight up with me. I was just typing stuff, but it does takes time. But I'm telling you,
Yeah,
it is something you can learn.
yes, yes.
It
I
just
know.
takes time. It takes time. So I don't want you to be discouraged at all.
No, not at all. Never.
Yeah. So yeah.
Thank you.
So, but you guys, please use AI. Don't try to see yourself less than that. I use it. I'm not gonna lie to you guys that I don't. But the only thing I say is like learn how to, I already did a bunch of, not a bunch, I've read a Python book before and I've done a project on Python that I understand some basics of Python. So if I ask Claude to write me a Python code, I can read the code. And if there's something in it that I can read, I'll literally copy that line. So in Claude, you can copy something like this and just paste it here and ask it, what is this? Or please explain this code to me. I just paste it there. And it would literally teach you everything you need to know about it. Sometimes when I learn, that is how I learn. So, yeah. Anyway, do you guys have any question? Belfond, I'll get to you shortly.
Thank you, Aziz. Thank you.
No problem.
Hello,
So
sir. Hello?
yeah, Frank. So,
Yeah, so if you could permit me, I could expatiate on the reason why you could not use the file that way and Claude asked you to put it in a string format.
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah. So in Bedrock and using this artificial intelligence and ML versions, when you're using a file, there's a format they call embedding. There's a format they call embedding. And using vectors, that's the way these Bedrock and these foundational models work. So when you upload a file or a document, you need to it needs to go through a process of embedding and using the vector formula.
Okay.
When they're talking about vectors, it's the same vectors we learn in mathematics, where you put the x and the y axis. But I guess that's something you guys might want to read, or if somebody wants to understand more, I could have a conversation with him later. But that's called embedding. So the model can't read that long string. It has to segregate it, like decouple the statement into short forms for the model to understand what's going on. So it uses the process of embedding and then puts every string, little strings. It could be a string of 5 characters. It puts it in a form of vectors and saves it in a vector database. There's a vector database by Facebook. It's called, I think it's FAISS. So just to say it short, it's a long explanation and it would need. So that's actually how that system works. So you need to break it down for the model to understand.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so I'll read more about it on how when we are giving it this file, how like you said, how it is processing the file. Thank you.
Yeah, I read that based on, remember what our conversation was when you gave me that assignment. So I went ahead and read it then before trying to do the project we were talking about.
Okay, cool. Okay, thank you. So, thank you, Mr. Peter.
I think I just need to just read the documentation again, and review the video just so I can make sure I grasp concept of everything. But I think it's fine. I mean, I would like to build on it and integrate it with quick sites to see what it looks like in the graph. So
Exactly. Yeah. So you can even take that response and format it, whether you want to use Python to format it or in any other way, and use it later on. What I'm more curious about and how I'm going to be using it is getting some type of data in AWS and using that data to do something else. I can see a lot of security stuff being implemented from this. The question Mr. Peter raised is valid, that are we sure that it is going to catch everything every time? Like, might it drop one data at some point? Which I don't think so, because I've used it to pretty much analyze data that was from Security Hub, and it was pretty much able to analyze the data and organize the data the exact way that I wanted to. So, but I'll work on some projects like that. That could be the next project we work on, and we'll see how well it performs when it comes to stuff like that. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I think
equally uses the ETL model. Sorry to cut you. Equally uses the extract, transform, and load model. So it's gonna be difficult for it not to cache any data because it takes you one step at a time.
exactly.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
very difficult. It's a long process with a lot of lambda functions, coding, blah blah blah. So it takes you one step at a time. And when they always do that, you would, as a cloud engineer, you always make sure you have a process of rolling back in case it didn't cache any process. And some systems equally use the SQS, the queuing service. With the queuing service, it's going to give time for Lambda to process the current data before going to its queue to pick up the next data. So it's difficult to lose any data because
Yeah.
the system is going to be decoupled.
Yeah, same. Yeah, that's true. So when we work on that project, then we'll see. But I don't think it will lose any data either. I agree. But yeah, we'll see. But I think because it is giving us our output in like a sentence format, it can give you a slightly different sentence format than it will give me, which is fine. The main thing is what we asked it to do, it was able to do it accurately. So yeah. Okay. That is pretty much it for tonight. I don't want to hold you guys on too long. So, Belfont, you need help, I can help you troubleshoot now if you have all the stuff you need help with.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Sure, you can share your screen. Mr. Henry, yes, you can take my training from anywhere. So I have people in Canada taking it as well. So it's pretty much self-paced, and you can register and take it from anywhere.
So do I have to wait for you after the troubleshooting session for us to have a conversation on that project, or you're gonna be on something else?
I'll message you. I'll message you after.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute the whole time. I was saying I was working on the Terraform module project, and I got to the part where I was creating the security groups. So I did that, but then when I tried to um, basically I was getting this um error messages. Um,
So what do you have in your Russian side of blog? I So
so
the source, what does the code look like in the source that you are referencing? Because it looks like it's a different code you are referencing over there. So on line
you
39,
mean for the
can you,
security?
yeah, line
38?
39,
Okay,
39, line 39. Can you go to wherever that is?
yeah, sure. So this is it. Um, is this what you're talking about?
Yeah, the security group, go into the security group and your
Variable.
variables.tf, go back. What about your main.tf? All right. So, what is the, go back to that, your,
To the telephone, I mean to
uh,
VS Code.
yeah. So comment out your security group first. Comment out that security group, line 38 to 44. So you can select everything. A fast way to comment everything is select everything and press Control/. That would comment it for you.
Okay,
Control/. There you go.
thank you.
All right. So run your code. Okay. And apply it. Oh, no, you know what? Don't. It's fine. So, no. So what I'm suspecting is that your state file is probably still messed up. Not messed up, but maybe you had some, and this always happen in Terraform. So let's try this. If it works, then I'll explain what's going on. So you see
Okay,
your .terraform folder over there in your project, delete that folder, the .terraform one.
the state file.
No, the .terraform folder. So it's the first one. Uh, that one. Yeah.
So you want me to delete it?
Yeah. Yeah. Move to recycle bin. Delete the dot Terraform lock 1 2. All right. So now in your project, scroll down in your project here, uncomment your security group. So because you did it at separate times, it might not.
Oh, is that
Some
why?
oh no. I'm talking about your comment now. So uncommented, press Control// again. Because some of it you commented manually and some of it you did Control//. So it would. So you see those ones, you would have to tab those ones in. Line 40, right? So line 38, you need to uncomment line 38 too. So line 38, remove the comment from line 38.
Oh, there's no comment there.
There's a comment there, line 38.
Oh, sorry.
All right,
Okay.
so 40 and 41, 42, you have to tab them in. So what I was saying is when you want to comment it, right, select the whole thing, right? Then you press Control//, right? But then when you want to remove the comment, select the whole thing again.
Okay.
And press Control//. At least that's how I do it. So that's
Okay.
like a shortcut to do it.
Thank
All
you.
right. So now save your file and run Terraform init and Terraform plan again. And Terraform
Plan over.
apply is fine because if you
Okay.
type apply, it's still going to plan it anyway. All right. So you see now it's just a scroll up. All right. So this isn't what you were getting before. So now you just need to fix so line main.12 line 12 application load balance inside it's a list of strings. So go back to your module, your backend module 1.
Okay.
So you can open to Visual Studio Code. So right click on your Visual Studio Code icon at the bottom of your thing. So wherever you have your Visual Studio icon, the app, right click on it and click open. I think it's like open new or something like that. You see what I mean?
Yes, sir.
All right. So that should open like a new, then open your module in there. Then you can bring it here because we have to go back between the two.
Okay.
For everyone else, we are done with the project. So you guys don't have to stay if you don't want to. I mean, thank you for joining. I'll see you guys on the next one,
I do.
or I'll see you
I
guys
do
on
have a
Saturday.
question for you. I have a question for you. I'll just wait until you finish
Are you
Uh,
sure?
you
troubleshooting.
can
Yeah, I'm fine.
ask. You can ask.
Uh, oh, so I still needed some troubleshooting steps with this project that I was telling you about.
Mhm.
Should I send you like the codes that I'm having problem with, like the scripts, and have you
Sure,
maybe analyze it? Okay. You want
sure.
me to send it through Slack, or do you want me to send it
No,
to?
Slack is better. Yes,
Okay,
and
all right. So I'll send a
zip
copy.
it and send it on Slack.
Okay, I'll do that. All right. Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Likewise.
Bye.
Okay, good night.
Right.
All right.
So,
All right. Thank you, Aziz. Good night.
all right. Thank you. Good night. So can you make your screen bigger? I can't barely see what's going on.
Are you able to see the second one?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay. I have to start a new share.
So stop sharing and share again, but share your desktop or something.
Okay.
Then we can go between each Visual Studio Code page.
Okay. Okay. Are you able to see?
So don't you don't have to put them side by side. It's fine. Because it's
Oh, okay.
hard for me to interpret what's going on. I know I say, but okay, let's try it this way. We can try it this way. It's fine. Then if I need to, okay.
So this
So
one is
this
the
is so
module.
select your main.tf. All right.
Let
So
me.
no, it's fine. It's fine. I
Okay.
can actually see it. All right. So the only what you can do is you can close your Explorer in each one. So that will give you more room. So you see the Explorer. Yeah, just close them. All right. So on your right side, the first one is saying that in your main.tf, so here's how you interpret the error. In your main dot, so it says in security group main.tf line 12 for the resource application load balancer security group. Yeah, leave it there, don't scroll. Application load balancer security group. Your CIDR blocks, right? It is complaining about that. It says that should be a list of strings. So you go in your main.tf, line 12. Right?
This is the main.tf. Yeah.
Line 12, yeah. You can see it's showing you the line 12 CIDR block 0. So
Right.
all it is saying is that should be in the bracket.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So when you say list of strings, you know why that has to be in a bracket? Because if you think about it, right? When you are creating like a ingress rule, right? You can
Yeah.
have multiple ingress rule in one security group.
Wow.
Right, you understand? So that's what that is saying. So that should be in a bracket.
So every time we do the cider blocks, it has to be in a bracket or um uh, not
But
not
in this
necessary.
particular case, it is telling you, yes, that's what it expects.
Okay.
But
So
it
it
just
depends for
depends. Yeah.
okay.
For the most part, setting in this case, yes, it should always be in a bracket, but I don't want you to guess that whether it should be in or not. If it needs to be in a bracket, it is telling you, yeah, that it needs to be in a bracket. So we will just put it in a bracket.
So we'll put all the cider blocks, including the egress. You just put
So
everything in the bracket
so walk according
because
to your
the error
error.
code.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Thank
the
you.
first one you did was scroll up.
I did
Scroll up
scroll up,
here.
which on
Scroll up
this
here.
one.
Yeah, because you have more. So the first one you did is 12. Scroll down. The next one is 20.
20. Okay. I think that's it.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
Save it, push it. So the issue you were having earlier with all the other errors you were getting is when you have your, I can explain once this is done. Just save this one, push it, then we will do the same thing in here.
Yeah, I never would have actually figured this out on my own because I actually tried using ChatGPT, but it wasn't really
Yeah.
um
I mean, if you give ChatGPT the code, like you would have to give it your modules code and your projects code, and it would able to tell you. But I understand.
okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
now make the other one we're done with this module one, but make this other one bigger.
okay.
All right. So sometimes the limitations that the modules have that I don't really like is when you fix something in the module and you push it back to the repository, right?
Yeah.
When you now run this code project, so what happens is if you open your Explorer, right? So when you run Terraform init, what Terraform does is Terraform will download all the modules that you are using here, that you are referencing under your source. Terraform will download it, and Terraform will store it in that .terraform folder,
Okay.
right? So if you go in there, that's how you see the modules. And if you click on
Right.
the drop down, you'll see those modules in there, right? So what Terraform does is the next time you run an apply or plan, instead of Terraform to go back to your repository and download the modules, it will just use the one that you already downloaded that is stored here. But this
Wow.
could be out of date. So that was the issue you were having with the first one, that you've made the changes, but it was still showing you the old one because it was referencing the modules that was in here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
So sometimes if you know you fixed the issue in the module and you're still getting the same output, just come here and delete this .terraform folder and delete the .terraform log.html file. Because
Okay.
when you run Terraform init, it will just re-download everything back again. But
Okay.
there is also a command you can run to tell Terraform that every time I run an init, I want you to re-download my modules all the time, but I can't remember the command now. So, but for me, I don't even use that command. I just always delete the folder and rerun it.
Because I was scared to delete it, thinking if I do it, it's gonna mess everything up.
No,
So I
it's not.
don't want to touch
No,
it.
it's not. So the things like .terraform
Yeah.
folder and the .terraform log HCL file, those you can delete. Anytime
Okay.
you run Terraform init, it always re-downloads it back, re-download
Okay.
it back. So you can delete those again. So let's test it. Run Terraform init and Terraform plan. See if it picks up the changes you just made. Sometimes it picks it up, sometimes it doesn't.
Got it.
I think I've fixed the issue and they granted me access. So I'll just work on that tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you, Titus.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Tom.
I'm glad they fixed it. Yeah. Okay. You say what I was telling you.
Yeah.
You already fixed the issue, right? But it is still showing you the error because Terraform is using whatever is in your .terraform, the modules that it already downloaded in your .terraform folder. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So you have to delete that or force Terraform to re-download it, but I can look for the command online. If you just type, but no, you don't have to do that now. Just
Okay.
delete it. I always delete it. I've used the command before. I don't remember, but there's a command you can use during your Terraform init to tell Terraform to re-download the files.
And you want to delete that Terraform log, correct?
Yeah, delete
Okay.
that.
All
Now
right.
run your Terraform init again.
Okay. And how often do you like when you use Terraform, for example, at work, do you use the modules more, or you don't usually use modules compared to like just using Terraform?
Yeah, most companies use module. That's most likely what they are going to be using at work. So
Okay.
it is very important to learn how to, to understand how to use it, because it is the same way as the regular one.
Yeah,
So, but it's just understanding the structure of
right.
how it references the module. Once you understand that, you are fine. So
It can get kind of confusing real fast.
in the beginning, it is. So you
Right.
still have one in the module on line 83, 87 that you need to fix.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. In the beginning, it is. But the more you work with it, it'll get easy.
I
87.
think I know like um I hope it doesn't tell me. Okay, I think that should be it. Okay.
I still say 117.
Sorry,
117.
117. Okay.
I think that should have it too. So
Uh,
scroll back, add it and scroll back up to the other security groups. Yeah,
okay.
you added on the other one. So yeah. All right. So save it, push it, then you might have to delete that folder again. And
Oh, I didn't say it yet. So every time you do that, just it's safe to just
yeah,
delete this one. Okay. Yeah, I never would have known that, honestly.
so delete, did you delete both things? Okay, now run Terraform init. Right, there you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So, like I always say, everything, it takes time, So
Yeah.
something in the beginning might be a little bit complicated. It was for me too, when I started working on it, but the more you work on it, the easier it gets. So, but the main issue you were having is you just didn't know that your modules the changes you made in the modules are not being re-downloaded again.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I thought when you save it, it's just, it it saves the changes. So
It should, but sometimes when you are referencing it from the GitHub repository, it just does that, which is
right.
weird. But you, in your spare time, look for the command where when you run Terraform init on your module, you
Okay.
tell it to re-download your modules every time. The
Okay,
reason
I'll
why
do
it
that right
does
now.
it, the reason why it does it this way is for caching purposes. Imagine if it has to download thousands of modules from the repository, right? It will take time to do all that stuff every single time you
Oh,
run
yeah,
a plan. So it
sure.
just downloads everything, stores it in here. So when you run a plan, it just goes in there and use it. So
That makes
okay.
sense. Yeah, I'll look at a command and then use that for it.
All
All
right.
right.
All
Thank
right,
you.
cool. No problem. So thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, have a good
All
night.
right. Everyone left. Okay. That's pretty much it. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night, and I'll see you, some of you guys this week, and the rest of you guys on Saturday. Bye. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, Assis.
Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel. Thank you. Bye.
Good night.